First right off the bat, we lost George Lee for the rest of the year with a knee, so his season's over with. We're going to miss him dearly. His leadership, his ability to play football helped us a lot. So our prayers go out to him as he is going to have surgery, obviously. Oregon, obviously very experienced football team on both sides of the football. Really good defensively, don't give up a lot of points. Play a lot of man-to-man in the secondary. That'd be a good test for us. Offensively, pretty balanced. They've got a veteran offensive line. They like to run the football. Quarterback, obviously, is very talented. One of the better quarterbacks in the country. So we'll have our hands full with these guys. Our deal is real simple. We have to stop playing from deficits. Last 3 losses, our defense has given up about 28 points average in the first half. We're only scoring 14. In the second half of football games, our offense is scoring about an average of 17. We're only giving up 8 points. So we got to get out of this deficit thing. We've been in too many deficits early, and we find our way climbing uphill in games, and that's never a good sign. And you definitely don't want to get into deficits against these guys because they're very good on defense. And they don't give up a lot of points. They're good in all phases of it, third down, red zone. They can rush the passer. They do a lot of things very well. Questions?
Michelle Gardner, Arizona Republic.
That's all right.
Bad day. Coach, after 4 tough losses, and now Oregon playing very well coming in here, how do you get your team mentally right, and what do you tell them to kind of get them ready?
It's real simple. You're playing one of the better teams in the country. They're trying to present themselves as one of those teams that are selected in the bowl. In the playoff situation. We know that. So I think our guys are well aware who we're playing and what they bring when they play football on either side of the football. I think our players know exactly what they're dealing with. Now, maybe not our young players so much because they didn't play them last year, but the guys that were in the game last year understood the type of team we're playing. And as I said, they got a lot of experience. They've got a lot of experience. They played together for a long time. I think of their defense, 8 of them are, juniors and seniors. So they've played together. Offensive line has played together for a while too. Quarterback came back for another year, obviously. So they're a really good football team. So that's what our players know.
Rabino Devil's Digest. Herm, after the game, you said that the decision to go to the 2-point conversion was because you felt momentum was on your side.
Yeah.
In your opinion, what's the difference between having momentum going for a 2-point conversion rather than having momentum being okay with the game going into overtime and building on that same momentum?
Well, I wasn't trying to tie a football game. We went on an 11-play drive for 90 yards. I felt like we had the momentum of the game going. And when I looked at it, it was very simple. For me, it was we've gone 90 yards. We converted a 4th and 8 for a touchdown. We can't make 2 yards. We can't make 2 yards. We just went 90 to score. And then when you make it, you put them in a position where all of a sudden they got about 1:40 left, 2 timeouts, and you put the onus on them. And their kicker hadn't been kicking well. So if you look at the last 3 series of defense, we stopped them actually 3 times. So I wanted to put the pressure on them. And I'm not playing to tie. We're trying to develop a program here where we want to win games. When you've lost 3 in a row and you're on the road, I'm not playing to tie the game and try to go overtime. I don't want to do that. I'm going to try to win. And I went 90 yards, 11 plays, and I'm going, we can't make 2 yards, really? That's just me. And I'll take it, and anytime you do something like that, there's always 2 sides of it. Someone's, well, you should tie it. I'm not trying to play to tie. I want to take the lead and go, okay, you guys haven't played behind all day. We just went 90 yards on you. My defense has stopped you 3 times in a row on 3 possessions. I'm saying, okay, let's see what happens now. So that was my thinking. And I would do it again, to be quite honest. That's just where I'm at with it.
Coach Paul Richardson from the Sportscape. You talked about playing with the deficit. An interesting stat showed that the offense hasn't scored a first drive touchdown in almost a year. How does that? How do you rectify that part?
You have to remind me of that. I see it, and I also see that the defense is giving up first drives. They give up scores, first possessions. We actually deferred. I'm one of those guys to defer on the coin toss. So knowing we're going to get what should be an extra possession in the second half if you play it outright. And I defer, and every time I defer, it's like, well, can we stop them? And they score. So we got to get that fixed. I mean, and we're trying. It's not like it's not effort. Not effort. You can't fault this team as far as being effort-wise. I mean, but we got to fix it. Got to find a way to stop it. We got to score and not allow them to score. It's real simple. So far we haven't done that. No, I've only said it once.
Greg Moore, Arizona Republic. Coach, you've got a couple of games, high profile, ABC, ESPN. What's that say about your program? What's that say about the state of affairs right now?
Well, I think it's in a place where people that watch us and view us know that we're trying to build a program with a bunch of young guys. And I think it's a team that when you watch them, it's going to be one of those games where you're not leaving because it's going to be close. And we just haven't won one of those in a while. When you think about earlier in the season, went on the road, played Michigan State. Close game, we won that one. We had to play Cal when they were ranked. Pretty good football team, close, we won that one. Washington State comes in here and, we win at the end. I mean, so we just have been on the bad side of it. And I'm not trying to play close games. Somebody told me, I was visiting with somebody, said, you like close games? No, I don't. I really don't. I would prefer to have a lead and play that way, but we haven't been able to do that. But I think most people know that view our games that we're a young football team, and I'm not using this excuse. It's just a fact. And when you make errors or you miss opportunities, I mean, I'm not going back and revisit the game, but we had some opportunities that we didn't take advantage of, quite frankly. And I'm not going to point out players or situations because I don't do that. But I think the players are well aware of that, and we have to stop doing that if we're going to win games.
Doug Haller, The Athletic. Herm, on the two-point try, did you have a lot of obviously you guys had confidence in the play that you sent out there? Did you?
Well, here's the situation. I think you got to understand this when you go in 2 points. We practice them all the time. There's numerous plays you can run. I do know this. There's two ways you got to view it. Either you're going to take the quarterback and use him to come on the perimeter and give him an option to run or throw, or you're going to give the ball to You're going to get it to him. Those are your two options. Because they're your two best players. So how you choose it, how you decide it, that's another thing. When it doesn't work, why did you run that play? Right? I get it. I mean, when we started to drive on the 10, the conversation was real simple. When we score, we're going for two. On the 10-yard line, we had to go to 90 yards. And the conversation I had with the guys up in the booth and with the quarterback, when we score, we're going for two. You understand what I'm telling you? He says, yeah, we got it, coach. Now, we scored, we didn't make the two. So we can revisit, say we should run another play, should have done this. Well, for me, I got two options. Quarterback, find a way for him to attack the perimeter, do something with him, or you're going to get the ball to Eno. Those are our two best players. And in my opinion, okay? And so how you structure it is how you structure it. I'm not calling the plays. That's not for me to do. I got to make the decision of this is what we're doing. And so let's go do it.
Who's next?
Coach Brendan, I really stood out that game, had a marvelous game. His maturity level and his development this year has been really taking that next step. What do you think has really paid into that?
You mentioned he's a JC guy, and last year I think he sat in a position where he watched Nikhil and watched Nikhil in big moments, and wanted to be that guy. Basically took his spot. Nikhil gets drafted, he leaves, he's in Nikhil's spot. And I think middle way of last year, you kind of saw him starting to understand what it took to play at this level, coming from JC. I think the way he's practiced last probably month he's figured out I got to practice at a certain level if I'm going to play well in games. So the maturity now is sinking in, and obviously he wants to go on and continue to play, and he's going to have that opportunity because he's a fabulous player with the ball in his hand. We know that. I mean, when he gets the ball in his hand, whether it's kickoffs, punts, in space, he can make people miss. So this is why he's got a talent that helps you at any moment. He can make a play, and he's done that the last couple of weeks.
Jeff Metcalf, Arizona Republic. Can you just discuss the adjustments you're making at halftime that allows your defense to play better, and then should that be happening
in the beginning?
In the beginning, I mean earlier.
Well, in the beginning, you have this plan, and you say, well, this is what we're doing, and a lot of it is human error. Whether we don't line up right or we do something wrong, it's a lot of different factors. And all of a sudden, we get behind, and it's not like we invented some new coverages. We played maybe a little bit more cover 2 in the second half to alleviate the double moves and all that stuff, the big passes, and that kind of slowed them down. But the problem is when you play a 2-shell, you're light in the box. So you got to stop the run. This is a balanced team, especially in 12 personnel. They can run the ball and play action pass. That's what they want to live in. That's when they present problems to you. So we were able to play cover 2 and still stop the run, which was good, and that's hard. So they got to give the players credit for that. So that was a little bit of it, and we made some plays. We just made some plays on third downs and got off the field, and then our offense got going. Our offense started moving the ball and scoring, and confidence of the team got going, and we just felt like we're going now. Let's go. We just, like all of those games, I always say you run out of time. Just ran out of time. And when you run out of time, you run out of time.
Greg Moore, Arizona Republic. Coach, can I get your thoughts about the Pac-12 as a whole? Looks like Utah and/or Oregon could be playoff teams, right? These are
very good teams.
Just your thoughts about the conference as it compares to other conferences.
Well, I think it's a conference very competitive. I know I was talking to Coach Smith before the game, Oregon State head coach, and we were both talking about, there's a lot of parity in the sense that a couple teams are veteran-laden, and that happens to be Oregon and Utah. Have a lot of guys that have played together, but everybody else is kind of fighting for their identity, depending on where your program's at, obviously, and so that's why any Saturday something could happen. Now the 2 most consistent teams have been Oregon and Utah for the most part in our conference. They've been pretty consistent. You got one loss. I mean, you're a pretty good football team. So they've been consistent. Their programs have been built. I mean, when you look at the players that are playing for them, they've got experience, and that always helps you when you have experience, especially when you're in a conference where any week anything can happen. But I think their experience in the course of a whole football game, their emotions don't change. They just kind of play. It's like any experienced team. When you play another team that knows you're a good team, you gotta withstand that rush that team has. No, we gotta get out. We gotta get plays. And then the first quarter is kind of balanced, and all of a sudden they keep going. And the second quarter, they might get up a score or 2, and then all of a sudden it just kind of the experience of it just takes over. And that's what those 2 teams have. That's why they've gone through the gauntlet unscathed, 9 and both those 9-1. That's pretty good record in the conference.
Coach Michael Caracino, Sports Hangover. To kind of piggyback off Brent, I mean, even like you said, halfway through last year, kind of started to see it, how to get on the same page with Manny, and Nikhil obviously had that advantage. Mm-hmm. But then even for all the receivers, but Brandon especially, to change up, have a freshman quarterback, like you said, could be the thing. What does that say about, him as a receiver and just the receivers overall in general?
Well, it says a lot about him because I think he's one of the guys they look for, in big moments that they're trying to get him the ball. And he's been that guy. He makes the big, we got a 4th and 12 or something like that. People don't talk about that, in the game. 4th and 12, we had converted, but we don't score. 4th and 12. And the line did a great job. They dropped 8 guys in coverage, and he found a little hole in the defense, and guess what? young quarterback, Jaden, he just sat in the pocket and just waited. He just kept waiting and waiting and waiting. They were in the zones defense, 5 underneath, 3 deep, and he just waited till it came open, and Brandon found the hole. He's got to make the catch, because if it doesn't, we're done. It's 4th and 12. We got to make that catch, on the big touchdown score, 4th and 8. We converted. They looking for him. He finds a way to get open. So it's just, he has that knack of the moments when we need him, similar to what Nikhil used to do for us. He made some big plays and big moments for us, some big catches, where if he doesn't make it, drives over, and we're done. So you got to give him credit for that.
Coach, you said something a little earlier. You said that when we scored a touchdown, we're going to go for 2, but you didn't call the play. Has there ever been a time where you didn't call the play, but you overrode the play call for something that you...
Yeah, there's some times where you go, no, I don't think we should do that one, but it was discussed. It was, like I said, it was at the 10-yard line when we had the ball. This is what we're doing. So I'm looking at the clock. I'm going, okay, if we play this right, we're going. You got 4 downs. Every time you have the ball and the quarterback knew it, you got 4 downs. We got to go score a touchdown. And so it was already discussed what was going to happen. Now, the play call is a play call. It's just, you make a call and you live with it. But there's sometimes, even defensively, sometimes when we're doing some things, I might get to Danny and say, Danny, you might want to try this, because they're doing this, and you might want to kind of settle down. Let's settle them down a little bit, and let's get them in this where we can just all say, line up and just play, and we don't have to worry about a lot of stuff. So sometimes you want to calm them down, and you have to be able to say that to the coach, and they get it. Sometimes you want to protect your defense, and you say, we got to run the ball some here. We got to slow these guys down, give our defense a rest. Let's let the clock go down before we hike the ball. All those kind of things when you're orchestrating the game and you're making decisions, because coaches they're looking at the call sheet. Okay, I'm looking at the game, and I'm watching the game on both sides of the ball, and I'm trying to figure out, what do we need now to help them, whether it's offense or defense? What do I have to suggest that they take this in consideration now? We need to do this, right? We need to get the runner going, or we need to get Aiyuk going, because I've seen some coverage now on certain plays. We need to do this defensively. We got to do this. So, yeah, I'm always involved in it that way.
Coach, Chirson Susel, NBC Phoenix, 1 win away from bowl eligibility. How big of a topic of conversation is that with your team as the heat's kind of turning
we
up?
talked about it, that you always, when you have an opportunity to get in the bowl, that's critical for your program. I think it would be really big for us because of how I'm thinking. If we have the opportunity to get in a bowl with all these young guys, it just speaks volumes, of what we can get accomplished. Those extra days of practice, all that stuff helps you, and there's obviously a rule that freshmen coming in, that are coming in the spring, they can actually practice. So that's another, so it's big. It's big. It's huge for our program to try to get that done, and we got 2 games to try to get that solved.
Herm, where's Jaden showed the most progress from where he was to start the season to where he is now?
I think his ability to sit back and gather the information when he comes off the field and kind of know what to do. He's pretty wise in his youth as far as looking at things. I think the game that he didn't play helped him, to be quite honest, because he got to sit away from it and go, okay, it's slowed down for him now. Now, does he do everything right? No. And we talked. I told him, the one decision he made, and there's a couple, but the one, when we're at the plus 35, we're in 4-down mode. Well, we got to get it to inside the 25 to kick a field goal. You can't take a sack. You got to throw the ball away. And he knew when he came off the field. He said, "Coach," I said, "I got it, but this is where we're at." And he said, "Coach, we're good." He comes in. He came in. Comes in Monday. We sit and talk. We go over the game, and I said, "That's the one." And I know you're trying to make plays with your legs, but this is and that's what happens to guys that are athletic. They can extend the play, but eventually know when the journey's over, and just you got to throw it away, because we're going to go for it on 4th down. But when we got there, I had to punt. I can't go for it now. Now I'm 4th and 25 or or something like that, you know. And so you can't do it. So I'm trying to score, get in field goal range at that point, because all of a sudden that's big, you know. It's a big part of the game, and so he understands that, but he gets caught in trying to make a play. It's unique because when they call timeout on the 4th and 8, I'm sitting there and I go, hey, and he goes, Coach, I know. I said, what am I going to tell you? He says, if it's not open, I know, Coach, I can run for the first down. I said, exactly. I said, just if it opens up and you zone open, you got to go get it. Just like Michigan State, right? He said, yeah, Coach, I got it. I said, okay. So we were on the same page, you know, because I went out on the field and say, look, now it's 4th and 8. This is it. This is money time. I said, if it ain't open, he said, Coach, I can make it. I said, okay, good. So we're on the same page. He gets it.
You talked about maybe trying to calm things down sometimes on a given play, but from a head coach perspective, when you've lost 4 games in a row, what do you do to kind of keep things going on course, not get your team doesn't get too panicky and that sort of thing?
Well, I thought we held our emotions pretty good. I mean, you know, I always look at fouls. We had a couple fouls on special teams. We had the one false start. I think we had 3-4 fouls. I think 3 of them on special teams. A couple of them, you know, we ran into the guy. We tripped and ran into the guy, but I think the guys are understanding that. Now, I say that, and now we got Oregon coming in here, you know, so they'll be excited about playing them, and then I know you're going to mention the one after that, you know, because we know how that's going to be. That's just going to be, woof. That's going to be a whole different attitude, right? But I just think the more they play, and when they're in these situations, the more it becomes normal for them. That's what it has to be. It has to become normal, where you go to the line, but you don't cross it. And I thought this week, you know, we got behind. We didn't panic, and we made a couple errors. You know, we turned the ball over at some bad times, and we got a turnover and didn't score. You know, you get a turnover, you got to score points. We weren't able to score. So I just think this week they did a pretty good job. Now we play Oregon here on national television. Hopefully it's another, you know, big game for them, and it's going to be crowded. You know, they got everybody watching. So how you going to act? And I think the more you're in that situation, the more it has to become normal, the more it has to become comfortable. We just have to win games. We got to win games in that situation, because it's been disappointing these last 4, to be quite honest. It's been disappointing for me, for my coaching staff, and the fact that we've had some opportunities and we haven't cashed in. And so that's disappointing. It's been a disappointing season thus far for me, personally, because we were in some situations where we should have won some games. We should not be 500 right now, but we are, and we got to improve on that. And that's my job, to try to make them understand that and try to get that done. And I'm going to do everything in my power to do it. So that's all I can do.
Chris Carbon, Sun Nova Source.
Yes, sir.
Herm, I think a lot of people expected cornerback play, defensive back play to be a strength of your team, and obviously that's your bread and butter. But the man coverage issues there early in multiple games recently, what do you make of that, especially in concert with some of the pass rush issues?
Well, dirty eyes, not lacking on talent, dirty eyes, and then all of a sudden guessing, you know, and you can't do that. I played that position for a long time, because then you start guessing because you want to make a play. They got you. Now they got you going both ways. You got dirty eyes, you're not keying in on what you're supposed to look at, and then you start guessing on play. We knew they were going to run double moves. We ran double moves all this week. And we knew the formation. We knew when it was coming. We practiced on it. We knew when they crossed the 50-yard line, guys, it's coming. I'm hollering it out before they even ran around. I'm on the sideline hollering out. I'm like, hey, man, this is what they're going to do. Okay? And they did it, and we didn't cover it very well. At second half, we were better. We slowed it down, you know, but if our corners can't play good, then we're going to give up big plays, because the way it's built. And that's anybody's corners. I mean, we were fortunate enough, we made some big plays. You know, and college football is about that. It's about guys that play out on the perimeter. When the ball's in the air, if they can't play the ball, you got problems. Then the only thing you can go to is some sort of cover 2, right? And if you do that, if you can't hold up against the run, then you got a problem. Because your box is short. You're short one guy. And so there lies the problem. You mentioned it. If you got to rush 5 guys, 6 guys to get a rush, you can't play zone defense. You got to play man defense. And so, all those things kind of mingle together, and that's why when you're a little lacking on certain areas, you're going to get exposed. Great rush always helps the secondary. You see it when anybody's got a great rush, and you know this as a corner or a guy that plays in the secondary. There's this clock in your head too. You're going when the ball's hiked, you're going ball's out. When you got a great rush, I mean, I played on some teams with a great rush. When I was in Philly, and I'm 1001, 1002, ball's out, because if they waited to 3, it was sacked. And so you know that, and I just think that always helps you. And if you can't do it with 4, then you got to do it with 5. And now everyone gets a one-on-one. And if you can't do it with 5, then you got to do it with 6. Well, you just open the box up more, and you put all the pressure on your corners. That's the life you live when you play defense.
Coach, what have been your thoughts about changing up maybe the base personnel, snatching the DB out, putting another linebacker in, walking somebody up? What have been the conversations like?
We've done that. We play in a system now where there's 5 defensive backs. We use one of them as a glorified linebacker because you got to be able to cover and play in the box. What we've done, we've been short a little bit. We had to put Kobe at safety, right? So Kobe's kind of playing safety. Hopefully this week he doesn't have to do that because he's one of our better corners. He's very consistent. We had 4 linebackers in there this week in certain packages. We put 4 linebackers and took the safety out. So we've done some things to try to help us. We're trying to piecemeal some things because of we're a little short at certain. Now we lose George. That doesn't help us because he's experienced. He's an experienced guy. He's played a lot of football games. So I'm not making excuses. That's the fact. And so with that being said, some young guys, these next 2 weeks are going to have to play better and help us. And the only way they play better and the only way to get experience, they got to play. And so that's what we're dealing with.
Yep. Coach, with 5 guys being late and you had to take them out to start the game, do you worry that maybe guys are losing focus or maybe losing priority?
No, I don't think that. I just think some of those guys was a little bit disappointing. Some of them were older guys, and I'm not a rule guy. I'm a standard type of person. And the one thing that I've always said, and the number one thing you better understand, you have to be on time for everything. Turning in your papers that are due, coming to practice, wherever you go, just be on time. And I think, to me, when that's not done, then you're hurting the team because we're waiting on you. This is a game of you have to be on time, right? And so discipline needs to be handed out. And I think when you have a young team with so many young guys, they got to understand that. That's real important. And if it's not, what are the consequences? So you got to do something. And so now they see these are the consequences. Coach will actually not play you. Yeah, that's right. And I don't care who you are. Doesn't matter. Because we're trying to develop a program. If all these freshmen are looking at those guys and going, oh, well, I could be late because I'm the starter. No, you can't. You can be on the bench. We're trying to grow these young guys into men. And the first thing you better do in life is always be on time for everything you do. Because when you're not on time, to me, something's more important. Well, it can't be more important. Because this is what you chose to do. You're a student athlete. Your student affairs, make sure that's all taken care of. When it comes to football, be on time, wherever you're supposed to be. It's not that hard. We don't have a lot of, like I said, I'm not a rule guy. And everyone's on the same satellite. So you can't say you're on a different standard time, because you're not. You can't say your watch didn't work. It works. Your phones change over. Say, hey man, change is over. I don't know what to tell you. It used to be back 20 years ago, well, my watch stopped. I didn't turn my watch over. You don't have to, man. It does automatic. So just be on time. It ain't that hard. I mean, part of what you got to do, you got to do it. No big deal to me. Thanks, Coach. Thank you.